How's it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to Beared Down Uncut. We have a very special episode today. We have some breaking news per Ian Rappaport, Mike Garofalo, as well as Dan Weaver. My name is Zach Rimbos. I'm the head editor and video producer here at Beared Down, and today I am joined with my co-hosts Jaylen and Parth. Jaylen, Parth, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just getting on the video as fast as possible as soon as we heard this breaking news. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, same here. I was just relaxing. I was just watching something on YouTube, and I seen the Bleacher Report thing that he retired. Obviously, we're going to talk about it, but that just made my day, a little brighter. Shout out to him for having a long NFL career, 19 years and stuff like that. But he knew that it was time to go because it was time to go.
Well, we haven't even broken the news yet. If you don't know what's happening, so I guess Anyways, that's prior reactions, but So per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garofalo, Chuck Pagano has retired today. I was literally doing homework as this happened, and I rushed to go post about it on Instagram. But Chuck Pagano is out as a defensive coordinator in Chicago, so that role now needs to be filled prior to the 2021 to 2022 season. And for that, we're going to have a completely different video discussing options and who we would like to see as the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears next year. Obviously a very tough year and a questionable offseason here. But also coming along with the news of Chuck Pagano, we also have breaking news per Dan Weaver, which is that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy will be coming back. They will be retained by the Chicago Bears in 2021. So obviously that is some bad news for some Bears fans like me who really wanted them out. But regardless, Jaylen and Parth, why don't you guys talk about specifically, like you were saying with Chuck Pagano, what you thought about that, and just kind of like what went wrong during the season. Obviously, just detail that a little bit, and then of course Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace coming back next year.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I got a lot to talk about. So, this is the second year with the Bears.
Yep.
So going over his whole his career with the Bears, it wasn't bad the first year. We still had a very good defense last year. He was more blitz heavy. We were seeing a lot of pressures. We weren't getting the turnovers we were getting in 2018, but we had a record, amount of interceptions and turnovers, and I knew we weren't going to be able to duplicate that. So I wasn't surprised that our turnovers were not up to par to what was in 2018. That's, like I said, something I expected, but this year too, we weren't getting as many turnovers. I think we only finished the season with like 9 interceptions or around there. Definitely not over 10, or it might just be at 10. So and he's, like I said, he started out the defense started off good for the first 6 games before until we went on a 6-game losing streak where the defense was still showing its strides, but we were getting scored on a lot. We weren't being able to stop the run. We weren't being able to stop the pass. The tackling was bad. We weren't getting pressure on any quarterbacks, especially with all the money that's into our defensive line and front seven. Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks. They're making a lot of money, and they just weren't getting to the quarterback, and then his coverages. He always plays soft coverage, no matter the score. We could be up 20 points, he's still going to play soft, or we could be down 20 points and he's still going to play soft coverage. So that's something I definitely didn't like. The only real off corner that plays off corner is Kyle Fuller, and he's been doing that his whole NFL career. Vic Fangio played him off, and that obviously worked because he had a 7 interception season. So, but when you're putting Buster Screen off coverage, beyond the sticks and letting Devontae Adams get easy 10-yard, plays on 4th or 3rd and 10, something that cannot happen when you want your defense to be successful. That's something we've seen on Sunday in the playoff game where we were playing, beyond the sticks, and I never understood that. He was also putting, linebackers on wide receivers. He put Danny Trevathan on MVS on a key play that gave up a 75-yard touchdown on 3rd and long. So, I'm definitely glad that he retired. I definitely feel like it was either, get fired or retire, for him. I don't think he just, retired out of nowhere. So I'm definitely happy he's gone. Like I said, it hasn't been, completely bad. He didn't have a bad, season last year as our defensive coordinator, but I'm definitely glad to see we can bring in a new name, a new head start. with someone else with this defense because it's not getting any younger. We have a lot of guys that are getting up there in age. So definitely excited to see who we bring in.
Parth, what do you got about Chuck Pagano? Just detail a little bit. Parth, I mean, Jaylen covered a lot of it, but just your reactions to that as well.
Yeah, I was happy. Congrats to Chuck Pagano on an incredible career. Everything he's gone through. I think he had one of the best, a very great career as a coach. Hands up to him. He's a legend. He was a head coach for like 5-6 years now, with the Bears for 2 years. So there's that. But as a fan, you got to be excited. You saw this defense, get a lot worse the last 2 seasons, especially with the talent that's on this defense. You didn't expect things to get this bad. But mediocre defense, and with guys like Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson, you don't expect that to happen. So hopefully whoever we hire next can, use these guys to their strengths and make sure this defense gets back to that top 5 form that they were. But yeah, there's a lot of other candidates out there, but personally, I'm happy about this one. This is something that needed to happen.
Yeah, Bears are going to have to make a couple moves this offseason in terms of players as well as obviously a coach and maybe even, a couple other coaches as well as maybe defensive line coaching, and wide receiver coaching as well, maybe perhaps with Mike Fury. We'll see regardless. Let's get right into the other part of the news, which is, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are coming back in 2021, which is some pretty disappointing news, at least to me. I did not like what they did with the team this year. And obviously, they'd been questioned for the front office, had been in question since the beginning of this year, considering that last year, we did the same thing. Had they not expanded the playoffs this year, we would not have made it. So you have to look at that 2 seasons in a row, going 8-8. Matt Nagy also, I felt, lost complete control of his locker room the second half of the season. They're undisciplined, as well as, I think the lack of motivation, perhaps at practice, perhaps just leading up to game day and game planning was very poor. But you got to wonder what's going to happen now. Ryan Pace is coming back, obviously. It was kind of a toss-up, 50-50 maybe, who was going to be fired, if not both, between Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. And we still don't have word on Ted Phillips, but he was expected earlier in the season, about midway through, during that 6-game losing streak, that he would retire after this season. So we still have to hear from that. But I mean, if we're talking about Ryan Pace coming back, you'd have to expect Allen Robinson is gone either this year or next for sure, which really sucks to think about, because you figure maybe with a new GM he might be able to sign him, move a couple pieces and sign Allen Robinson like I was expecting. But why don't you guys talk about that a little bit? What do you expect to happen this offseason now with Ryan Pace returning, and how big of an impact does it have on the team in 2021?
Yeah, I thought this was a questionable decision. This is kind of like accepting mediocrity, I guess. I think the front office doesn't care anymore. They're fine with the team going 8-8, 2 years in a row. I guess, as Bears fans should not be happy to that. We should hold our team to a much higher standard. And the front office does not, hold this Bears team to that standard, I guess. To keep Matt Nagy does not send a good message. It just means that we're accepting just being a mediocre team. It kind of sucks. And I'm completely confused on why we're keeping Ryan Pace. He's had 3 chances to pick out a quarterback. He signed, Mike Glennon first, and then he drafted Trubisky. He's done all 3 things to find a quarterback, and he has been successful. I think it was time to bring in a new guy who can evaluate better offensive talent. Pace has done a great job at finding defensive talent, but he has struggled at finding offensive talent, especially in the draft. And the Bears offense sucks, and we need to improve that. And if you don't have a GM who can find offensive talent, it's not going to improve anytime soon, in my opinion. So, I bet these guys are out next year. I'm willing to place bets on that. I just don't see them sticking, especially with the schedule we have next year. Unless if Ryan Pace can, somehow draft an amazing class, which he did last year. I'll give him that as well. He does find late round studs, but he has also missed on very early picks. And those are usually the easier picks, and it kind of hurts to see that especially happen.
Yeah, I do want to say really quick before Jaylen jumps in too. Cole Kmet is a good pick. I
Yeah.
want to say that. But obviously I don't think tight end along with the signing of Jimmy Graham was the
It didn't
problem
make
this season.
sense because the Bears could have much rather drafted a wide receiver. I mean, our wide receiver core looks really poor right now, and there were so many good wide receivers in that draft class. I think we had a chance to grab Michael Pittman over there. I mean, I think that would have been or Chase Claypool was sitting there as well.
Yeah, we had a chance to grab Chase Claypool. Pittman was off the first, like I think one
Okay,
of the first picks.
Or maybe you shot offensive lineman right there too. You never know
Yeah.
what could happen. I mean, regardless, I think Cole Kmet is a good pick. He will be a good tight end in a few years. Jimmy Graham obviously helped him, mentored him this season. Jimmy Graham's a hell of a guy. I think Cole Kmet has a chance to truly be a good player in a few years, and I think he stepped up into his rookie role very well. The problem is Ryan Pace is 0 for 3 on quarterbacks. Mike Glennon, Mitchell Trubisky, and then of course Nick Foles. That trade I don't agree with at all. I would say Mitch, but I seriously do think development has a ton in this play that needs to be considered as well.
Matt Nagy right there as well.
Matt Nagy was Ryan Pace's handpicked guy, just like Nick Foles was Matt Nagy's handpicked guy. And both those didn't work out, man. I just think, the future impact of this team, you'd have to think the McCaskies say they want to win, but you really have to question about their mentality right now, especially George McCaskey, the owner of the team. You got to be wondering what's going on up there in his head and just thinking 2 back-to-back seasons with this roster. If you look at our roster right now, you're saying, holy, this is a hell of a team, right? But it just hasn't panned out. The coaching is a problem, as well as, I think some of the players are not executing as well, and you got to think some of that comes with coaching. So, but Jaylen, why don't I give your thoughts about, the impact of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy coming back in 2021, and how you expect things to go. Because like Parth was saying, our schedule is not easy next year by any means.
So I have different opinions than both of you guys. I obviously know that when I saw the news that you and Parth, I think Chris too, you guys were kind of upset about that we're bringing both of them back. And for me, I'm not upset at all. That's something I wanted. I just feel like, firing them this year is not going to do anything for our team. Next year, we could find a coach and a GM that can flip this team to a playoff, we were a playoff team to a Super Bowl contender next year. And I just feel like that doesn't work. You're going to, bring in a new head coach, a new GM that has no relations to any of these players. And in a year where we are already probably, dealing with, a virus, who knows how, next season is going to look. They say it's going to be on schedule, but we never know. We can have another outbreak and we could be quarantined for who knows how long. So you're going to, bring a new head coach in with a new scheme who doesn't know anything about these players we have and try to have, I'm trying like build a whole new type of culture for this team. And I like I said, I don't see the point of doing that. Now, like I said, I'm a big fan of Matt Nagy. I feel like he's a good coach. He's just not a good offensive coordinator. He's just something. He's not a good multitasker. You can't be a coach. For Matt Nagy, he can't be a head coach and an offensive coordinator at the same time. When he was the offensive coordinator, we were having bad timeouts. We were, always in a game. We were always having delay of games and stuff like that. Since he was too busy paying attention to what play he was going to call, he wasn't paying attention to the play clock. So, I'm happy we're bringing them back, but for me, this is the last year. If I don't see improvement from this team, 2 back-to-back 8-8 seasons is not good at all. It's not bad. Not bad because we didn't get worse as a team, but at the same time, it's not good because we didn't get better. We literally had the same record for back-to-back years. So, and then with Pace, he's I wouldn't say he's a good GM, but he's not a bad GM. He's definitely not one of the worst GMs in the league. I know way worse GMs than him. I know that he's messed up with the quarterback position, and that's one of the biggest positions in the NFL. If you can have a bad offense and still have a good quarterback, and he can lead you to some type of success. And I know he's missed on that position 3 times, like you said, especially with Mike Glennon. I wouldn't say he missed on Mitchell Trubisky, but like you said, it definitely has to do with development. You have to bring in people around the quarterback to help him get better. And obviously he missed on Nick Foles. I never agreed with that trade in the first place. When we first traded for him, I didn't agree with that at the time. I was very livid. And now that he's on a huge, I wouldn't say a huge contract, but he's on a player option that he's probably going to pick up because no other team is going to pay him that type of money. In free agency, he's probably going to be on the team next year. So I definitely wasn't a fan of that move. But at the same time, this draft class this year alone impacted this team. We got Cole Kmet, who I think is also going to be a very good tight end down the road, especially under leadership from Jimmy Graham, who had a very good season for us. 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns if you catch the playoff touchdown. That was top 5 in the league for tight ends. And Cole Kmet added too with around 100 and something yards. So I feel like that Cole Kmet pick wasn't bad. And obviously Jaylen Johnson and Darnell Mooney, who were the other top two names out of that draft class, were huge upgrades on the defense. Jaylen Johnson was our number 2 corner. We saw his impact when he went out with a shoulder injury, and then Darnell Mooney, he was our second receiving yards leader, and him not having that speed in that playoff game, ultimately cost us that game because I'm pretty sure that play would go to him and not Javon Wims. And Darnell Mooney only dropped 1 ball in the whole entire season, so I'm pretty sure he wouldn't drop that. So. With Pace being back, I'm not upset. I want to definitely see how they, come into this offseason. This team definitely needs some type of revamp, not a rebuild. I've said that multiple times on this podcast. I definitely feel like if we can bring in just some players on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball, that we can be back into. I'm not gonna say that the 12-4 season because that's a notorious season for us. We had one of the best defenses in the NFL, but be back to. Some type of playoff contention. We're not a wild card team only because another team won for us to get in. So, that's just my thoughts on it. I definitely feel like this, like I said, this is his last season. We need to be competitive. We need to see improvement from the offensive side of the ball before we bring them back in 2022.
Yeah, from a management perspective, like you were saying, it does make a little bit of sense to bring them back. They have one more shot. This is pretty much the team that they've built up. And if they don't do it, I mean, I really thought that this would be the year that you'd be saying that, especially with how that 6-game streak went. I thought that at that point it was pretty much, well, if we lose out here, I mean, they're done. There's no question. But I do understand it. I just think, and this is a question too. I mean, in that Saints game, you have to be wondering, did Matt Nagy seriously take over the play calling in that game? Because like you said, he is a good coach. He's usually very good at keeping his guys under control.
Yeah.
In that game, not under control.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Really
discipline at all.
Also, I do want to say some of the referees, the calls I did not agree with. That Cole Kmet play was, they were saying he egregiously threw the ball to Malcolm Jenkins when the referee was right behind him. That is one of the weirdest.
The game, though, honestly. The Bears lost this game right when the game started, and it was because Matt Nagy did not think that his own team was going to win this game. He never gave the game planning and the offense a shot to win the game, and which is why I'm still surprised that he's still the head coach. Because
I think they're making the playoffs.
I mean, you're the one who's a big Mitch Trubisky fan, and if Mitch Trubisky fan, I don't understand how you would want Matt Nagy back. But again, I think they all three should have been out personally. But again, it's the most Bears type of decision ever to keep a mediocre coach and mediocre GM. But again, it's frustrating as a fan. I don't think the franchise cares as much as we do. And
I think the only reason they came back is because we made the playoffs.
But again,
ownership that hasn't seen the playoffs since
2020. A coach who loses 6 games straight should not be back on the same.
I'm saying if we didn't make the playoffs, I'm pretty sure they would not be.
I wish the Cardinals got in at this point. Then
sure,
I wouldn't say that.
All right, sure. So definitely you have to attribute their coming back because they made the playoffs, but you also have to think in the past in 2 playoff events, both very underwhelming. Especially, I mean, in the Eagles game, the offense was absolutely transparent. So I mean, at that point, again, it kind of looks like the same thing, doesn't it? I think the problem is that Matt Nagy is so egotistical, that when he wants to take control of the game, he loses control of his players. He doesn't have a game plan that he's expecting going into a game. Hence, multiple games this season, the Rams, even though they have an amazing, stellar passing defense, and Nick Foles is playing as well. But the Rams, the Saints game, we should have easily won that game both times. In fact, I thought these games were extremely in reach, and that's not even saying how many other games we lost that were just in our hands and we let go. The Lions game, I think we had a better chance against the Packers the second time. The game planning is very poor. And also, Parth made a good note about this the other time. I think it was yesterday when we recorded this, on our thoughts about the season, which was a 50-minute rant. But can you beat the Green Bay Packers as the Bears head coach?
No.
Matt Nagy has said that one time in his career.
Right? Yeah.
So you got to wonder, man, if you're up front office, if you're George McCaskey, if you're part of the McCaskey families, if you're McCaskey family, if you're Ted Phillips, which I hope he's gone too. He doesn't have a football mentality. But regardless, the McCaskeys have to be wondering, this is the oldest rivalry in football. It's probably the best rivalry in sports. Why does it seem so uncompetitive right now? It's just there's a lot of things. This turned into a rant too. But there's a lot of things in question this offseason. It'll be a very
we were more competitive against the Packers last year than we were this year. We made the playoffs this year, so
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of questions. A lot of
both games by 20 points.
The Bears are going to have
to. First game we lost by 7. Second game we lost by 8. This time we got blown out, or we lost by double digits. So.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, the Bears are going to have to make a few moves, both in free agency, in 3 ways, which is the roster, free agency, and in the draft. They're going to have to be looking to make some large improvements if Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy want to come back after the 2021 season, 2021-2022 season. It's going to be interesting, but regardless, we're going to end this one. We're going to wrap this one up. This was a fun one to record, honestly. I felt like this was just like the other video that we recorded. It was a little emotional. Got a little bit of our love for the Bears out. But Jaylen, Parth, what are your last thoughts for this one?
Yeah, we all got a lot of love for this team. We all got a lot of opinions. At the end of the day, I don't control anything. I'm just a fan, and luckily I have a podcast where I can talk about it, where I can rant about it. But until at the end of the day, I don't got enough decisions. Get
a little bit of the blood flow going, and a little bit of
maybe I won't buy a jersey this year, but that's about it.
Jaylen, last thoughts.
Like Parth said, I'm just a fan. Trust me, if I was in control of the team, if I was the GM or the head coach, our team would be like a 4-12 team. Like back in 2017, I thought Deshaun Kaiser was gonna be good.
Oh yeah, same here, bro. Same here.
I was like, take Jamal Adams third, and then get Deshaun Kaiser in the second round. Bro, I'm so glad we didn't do none of that. But I'm just a fan. At the end of the day, I just want to see my team be competitive and be good. This is only the second time I've seen my team in the playoffs. And like I said, I want to see us win a playoff game. I've never seen the Bears win a playoff game, and that's something I want to do before I leave this earth. So, hopefully it's soon. Hopefully it's next year. And that's about it. Yeah,
man. I do want to say being a Bears fan right now is not as bad as it's been in the past, but it's just disappointment. Is all it is. It's not like being a Bears fan is the worst in the world right now. Yeah. You could be a Jets fan, you could be a Jags. Well, and actually, I don't know. Jags are, they're looking good now. But other than that, guys, that'll pretty much do it for us. We really appreciate you guys watching these videos, and like Parth said, we're grateful we have a platform to be able to talk Bears with you guys. It's always a fun time, but stay safe out there and bear down. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.